Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi, I'm Cindy. You know, and I don't care how many times you've done this. In my opinion, it's still pretty scary, and the butterflies, and I'm full of emotion. I'm a crier, sorry. I haven't even started yet. I've never experienced doing this. This is my first time doing this as a family. I can't express what I'm feeling right now, other than the fact that it's such a gift to have my daughter and my granddaughter here with me. Sorry, so I looked at that daughter who's already crying, and I'm a mess. I'm here because I love an alcoholic, and there's a whole bunch of them, and you know, and I wrote down before I came, I wrote down highlights of my life and what I want to talk to you about so I don't forget. And so I wrote them all down, and I don't know what happened to them. I forgot them. I don't know where they're at. So what I get to do is I just get to share my story in about 20, 25 minutes around there. Okay. So I'll be 58 years old, so I got to cram that all in. You know, I was not brought up in an alcoholic home. I have my mom and my dad, and I have 3 older brothers. And my 3 older brothers are still alive. My mother and father have both passed away. I was brought up in a Baptist home. I had a pretty good childhood. You know, I met my husband when I was in 8th grade. I kind of knew then that he was the guy. We got married very young, and we have a total of 6 kids. 5 of them I gave birth to, and 1 came along when he was 13 years old, and we took him in, and he's still mine. I have 7 grandchildren. So, you know, normally when I share my story, I talk to you about all the drama that happened before I found you guys. You know, I think I want to do that really brief. Not because I want to save face, because my granddaughter's here, because I want her to. But you know, the deal is I was one of those that I jumped on the hood of a car to stop it. You know, when he walked in at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was the one that was using profanity and cussing at him and saying to him, you know, to get the F out. And then when he went to the door, I would say, "Where in the F are you going?" That's just how I talked to him. You know, it was me that woke up those kids in the middle of the night. You know, and there was a lot of things that happened to me before I found Al-Anon, and one of them was I got really ill. You know, and in that marriage, before I found Al-Anon, you know, I was just real busy. You know, I have 6 kids, and, you know, he's always drank. We've never experienced sobriety in our home. You know, he's a beer drinker, sports guy. I think the reason why it took me so long to find you guys is because he's a good man. You know, never got beat up. You know, none of that stuff kind of happened, not that kind of drama. It was, you know, just drinking beer and watching sports, and he was real involved with the kids and still is. And, but, you know, it just got to the point where his drinking was bothering me more and more. We would go watch my daughter play softball, and, you know, I was one of those moms that I would stand up in the bleachers, and if I stood up in the bleachers on the very top, you know, I could see what was going on in the parking lot. So I would see him and the other dads and the other moms, whoever's drinking, in the parking lot. And so, you know, my daughter's up to bat, and I'm pissed off because he's not at the game watching. But I'm not watching either because I'm watching him in the parking lot. So So that's kind of how, you know, I was, and it got worse to the point where one of my children wanted to know why I was so mad. And I didn't answer her very nice. You know, I'm a screamer, a yeller, and a cusser, and I thought the more I screamed and the more I cussed is the more that you were going to understand what I'm telling you, and you were going to get it. So what I found out is that my kids kind of tuned me out after a while. In that marriage, you know, things happened, the DUIs, and, you know, me trying to take care of everybody and take care of him, and, you know, counting the beers and all that stuff that we do. But in there, I got really sick. I was diagnosed with cancer in 1992. I don't even remember anymore, so it's been a long time. And then I went through chemotherapy and was in remission, and the cancer came back, and I went through chemotherapy and radiation again, and I've been in remission now. I lost count, maybe 17, 18 years, somewhere around there. You know, I was given a book, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I was given a book, and in that book it talked about how, you know, our body can only take so much. And what our body can do. And it didn't really say that if your husband drinks, you're going to get cancer. That's not what it said. But and you don't take care of yourself. But I believe that if I don't take care of myself, my body tends to rebel and will let me know real fast. So, you know, in there, though, I got to tell you that my family became very close. I need to explain, too, that I believe that family is, and even to husband, you know, me, the kids, you know, is really important. When I found Al-Anon, I got a phone call from an ex-sister-in-law, and she found the program, and she was married to my husband's brother, and she found Al-Anon, and she called me up, and she was all excited, and she started to tell me how this program, what it was, and she invited me to a meeting, and I told her I was fine. I told her I had everything under control, and I needed to do anything, and that I was fine. And you know, she never called again, and never bothered me again, but the seed was planted. It took, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years after that phone call that I found you guys. And then when I did find you, I remember going to my first meeting, and there was only 2 people at that meeting. It was at Oxnard College. But I remember being asked to read something out of one of our daily readers, and all I did was cry. I think I cried for the first 6 months. You talked about God, and I was real determined not to do the God thing, and I told you I wasn't going to do the God thing. There was a lot of things I didn't understand. I didn't understand the way you were talking. You know, my mom didn't use the word, you know, obsessing. You know, she didn't wake up and say, oh, I've been obsessing. You know, we didn't talk like that. So, you know, there was a lot of things I didn't know. One thing I did come in with was that I really felt that, you know, my self-esteem was in the toilet. I felt that all I knew how to do was make beds and take care of babies. I didn't think I was smart enough. I thought because of my education, or lack of it, that I wasn't smart enough to do what others were doing. You know, it really amazes me, you know, my way of thinking and what I thought, because I thought that if you wore a dress and you had high heels and you had a little briefcase, that meant you were somebody. And what I did was I worked in a kitchen with 3 other women and fed 500 students. That's what I was, the gal, you know, that had that little thing on your head and the apron and said green beans, green beans. That's what I did for 14 years. But you know what? I found you guys, and I knew that I belonged. It took a while, and it was a slow process, and a lot of things started to change. And I would love to tell you that because I have been coming to Al-Anon for 16 years now, that he has found sobriety, and that's not the case. And I had a plan when I came here, and you know, it cracks me up the way that I think. You know, I really thought that you were going to tell me how to get him sober, and I was going to go home and I was going to tell him, and that he was going to do it. That was the kicker. But what did happen, you know, I really want to jump into service. I really want to jump into, in that process of me starting Al-Anon, it was suggested for me to have my younger children go to ALATEEN. So I took 3 of them. The older one of the 3 decided that she didn't like it, and I think she was maybe about 16 or so. And then the 2 younger ones I took. They both liked it. The younger one really was attached. Really, when he went to SCAC, and you know, I just noticed in my family, things just started to change. When I started changing, I remember my friend Stella. She would always say to do the opposite of what you would normally do. So I started doing that. I would walk into the kitchen, and instead of me screaming and yelling, how come that backpack's there? How come you didn't pick up your shoes? How come you didn't do this? Nobody washed the dishes, because that's what I would do. I just started changing how I talked. And the thing for me is that I can say something in a way that can make you feel like nothing. And I can say something in a way, and you know, to tell you the truth, I can do it without even saying anything. I can do it in a way where it's that disapproval look, where it's that I know best, you don't kind of thing. And so, you know, I'm really grateful that, you know, today, I might do it a couple of times, but I try really hard not to. I mean, this is an honest program. You know, and I'm really grateful for the steps because of that. And I'm really grateful for sponsorship. That was on my list, sponsorship and steps and service. So, you know, the kids went to ALATEEN, and I think we were in program for about a year, and my youngest son, Alex, was diagnosed with brain cancer. And there was a lot of miracles that happened out of that, I just got to tell you. The fact that my sponsor, who happened to be the woman who gave me the call, the ex-sister-in-law, is my sponsor today. You know, and that too is a surprise because, you know, I didn't think we really got along that well when we there. And you know what? I owe her my life. Okay. So you know, he was in ALATEEN, and so what got to happen is my sponsor was a nurse, and she just happened to have this job that she was working for a doctor who specialized in cancer and diseases in children. And so, you know, we threw her in the car, me and my husband, and we went to Children's Hospital, and she explained to me what was going on, and she was there for me, and now that I look back, you know, I don't think I could have done any of that without her, or with you guys. You know, that's where I see all the gifts that, you know, I had just been into Al-Anon for a year, and then he got sick, and all the gifts started to happen. My 2 younger ones at that time, you know, they didn't get along. And today I get to see the relationship, and I get to see, you know, how much they love each other. And I think that's a direct result in God being busy in my home. So, you know, he got well. Oh, he's fine. Oops. I always forget to tell you guys that he's doing great. And, you know, I really wanted to touch on, and I know I'm all over the place because I feel like I've only got, you know, 20 minutes, so I want to get this all crammed in. But I really want to talk about ALATEENs. If you've ever been an ALATEEN sponsor, if you're being an ALATEEN sponsor, if you've done it in the past, you know, I thank you. I thank you so much. You know, those of you who open those doors for those kids, I thank you. And what's so awesome about that there was a man in program who sponsored, you know, my 2 younger children, and he is now my granddaughter's sponsor. And so that's what happens here, I believe, is that we end up coming, and, you know, we come and we stay and we get involved and we participate, and you know what? You start knowing my family, the history begins, the memories are made, and you know, I don't find that anywhere else. I mean, you know, it's not that, you know, your Uncle Joe and your Aunt Sue, but to tell you the truth, your Uncle Joe and your Aunt Sue. I mean, that's how we feel when we walk in. And the experience that I've had being an ALATEEN sponsor, there's no such feeling I can't even explain, when you're somewhere and an ALATEEN comes running to you and they know your name and they're so happy to see you. And I thank you guys for that. Because of that, I got to experience that. And I think for that, too, all of that boils down to just willingness. I remember telling my sponsor years ago, you know what, I'll go running naked in the park. It's not going to be pretty, but I'll do it. Whatever you're asking me to do, I'll do, because I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling anymore. And I started noticing that if I did what was suggested, things started to change. So, kept going to Al-Anon, kept doing what was suggested, doing things above the group level in service, even though I thought that I couldn't. And I owe that to my sponsor and to all the women and men who walked before me. Because, you know, that's what I needed, was that encouragement. You know, I really never finished anything in my life other than having children, because I couldn't stop in the middle of it. You know, you're right there and you gotta have Sorry, that just came out. You know, and today, you know, I get to say that, you know, there are things that I do finish today. Not all the time, but, you know, and I have pride in them. And there's so many things that have changed where today I believe I have that self-confidence and that self-worth that I didn't have when I came in. So, so I'm in program, and I'm loving you guys, and you're loving me, and everybody's doing good, and my husband has this job that, wait, I'm getting parched. We didn't use that word either. So my husband got this job. He has this job, and he's had it for 37 years. Look, my daughter, because he got it when she was born. So, I'm sorry, I just told him your age. Sorry. So he has this job in the oil field business, and he's only had this job since he was 19 years old. And he's good at his job. And we had an opportunity to work and to live in the Middle East. So we moved to a country called Qatar, and I say it wrong, Qatar, I don't know. And we lived in the capital of Doha. We moved in there, I think, moved there about 2004. Took all of you guys with me the best that I could, but there were no Al-Anon meetings. So a really good friend of mine in AA gave me, well, actually does both programs, but he gave me a list of names and numbers of members of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I went over there, and I'm fine, I'm good, you know, I don't need an Al-Anon meetings, I got you guys, I talked to you guys, you know, whatever, I'm good. Come back home for a little bit, go back over there to the Middle East, and still thinking that I'm good, and then I'm finding out I'm not so good. I mean, I'm counting beers again. I'm writing on the calendar, you know, how much he bought, how much he drank, how much, you know, all that stuff, and I was getting real sick. So I remember I had that, list of names and numbers, and so I called Ian from Scotland, and who was working there, and he said that there were 3 meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that he would come and pick me up. And I said, no, I'll get a taxi. He said, no, I will come and get you. He came in, and you know what? I got in a car. Now that I think about it, I got in a car. I had no idea who this guy was. You know, I mean, to tell you, he was Ian from Scotland. That's all I knew. And the funniest thing, too, is my husband's there, and he let me go. So, you know. Oh, good. So, but what I want to share with you is that I thought that the only way that I would get close to anybody in Alcoholics Anonymous is if my husband found sobriety. It's not true. I left having friends who, husbands and other members in Alcoholics Anonymous, but, you know, I just really believed that the only way that, you know, I wanted to be a couple so bad, I guess that's what it was. So Ian picked me up, and I started doing 3 AA meetings a week, and they saved my ass. I sat in this room with maybe 9 to 13 men from all over the country, and I used to think to myself, oh my God, you know, what am I doing here? You know, the only Chicana from South Oxnard, and there I am, you know. So I found myself in these rooms with these men, and one of them I'll never forget, his name was Steve, and he said, you know, Cindy, you're not sharing. And I said, are you kidding? This is not my meeting, this is your guys' meeting, and I am so honored that you're allowing me to be here and to share this wonderful. the steps and the traditions and, what we get to hear in these rooms. And he said, no, Cindy, this is your meeting. We want to hear from you. So they allowed me to share. And I got good recovery, and it literally saved my ass. So I thank Alcoholics Anonymous. I love the fact that today I get to sponsor a lot of women who, not a lot, but, I got women who are in both programs, and what a gift that is. Because, not only do they call me and they're talking about their relationship stuff, I get to talk to them about, alcoholics, and they're helping me. What a gift that is. So, it just happened that, we were there for a 2-year contract. I could only stay for 1 year. I couldn't do it anymore. My babies, the grandbabies were here, and I was just missing them too much. And so I came back home, and, and in that time, there was a conflict with one of my daughters, and it's my middle daughter. And, and today I don't have a relationship with this one daughter. And there's 6 of them. There's 3 girls and 3 boys. And I'm just really grateful to you guys because, when I start feeling sad and when my heart starts to hurt and I feel that pain, I call you. When I get to that place where I can't breathe, I call you. And do I have hope in that situation? Yes. What I have found out that what I get to do is I get to really concentrate on the children who want to hang out with me, that want to be with me, instead of focusing on that one. Because I'm one of those that, you have a party and you focus on the ones who didn't show up instead of the ones that showed up. That's how I am. So, how much time do I have? 5 minutes? Okay, good. So what I really want to talk about now is service. There's things that you hear all the time, and if you're new, I would just encourage you to go to a lot of meetings. I went to a lot of meetings in the beginning, and I still do it today, and I think that, I don't go to a lot of meetings because I don't have a life. I go to a lot of meetings because that's my life. I get to go and I get to be of service to others, and so today I get to do things above the group level. There was a woman that we loved that was real strong in program, and she passed away several years ago. And, I think that she's one of the women that really helped me with service. And she had less time, she had a year less than me, so, I'm thinking, oh my God, she's really smart, she's really this, and she's really that, and, I can't do what she does. And now, I might not be able to do what others do the way they do it, but I can do what you guys do. I can, and I'm finding out more and more I can. And the thing that I love most about this convention, I will talk about this really quick, is that I did nothing by myself. I had someone come over and help me with the speaker bags, and I had somebody going to Costco with me and helping me shop, and it just amazes me that all I need to do is just ask for help, and there's always somebody there. The thing that I love the most, too, about this is that I'm not alone. Not alone. And I'll never have to be alone again. Will he find sobriety? Oh, hell, I don't know. But, will I be okay no matter what? Yeah, I know that. Do I have a God in my life today? Most definitely. Is it your God? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. The fact is that, I know my God cares about me and loves me and loves my family. And I think I'm pretty much done. Yeah? Okay.
All right, Cindy. Okay, now we have Alex. Come on up.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Alex. First, I want to say that I'm grateful that you guys, I don't know who asked, yeah. You guys asked me to speak for ALATEEN, and I'm very nervous, you can probably tell. But first I want to say thank you to my grandma, because if she never like came or whatever, I probably wouldn't be here today. And I'm really grateful that she made me go to ALATEEN. This was about 2 years ago, so thank you. I remember my first ALATEEN meeting, my grandma made me go, and I really didn't want to go. I thought it was stupid, and I thought, oh no, I don't have a problem with any alcoholic in my family or anything. But thanks. I was kind of like whatever about it. I didn't really want to go because I didn't want to feel kind of like left out, and these people over here with sad sob stories about their parents or whoever their person is, and I felt like I didn't belong, so I didn't share anything. But I remember when at first I went, and then I liked it because not everybody dealt with alcoholism, or they all had different problems, and some of the problems related to what I had or what I was going through. So I felt like, oh, well, okay, whatever. Oh, well, I could talk and share with these people, and they would understand. That was kind of funny. And I felt like, oh, well, she deals with what I go through, and I could talk to her, I could get her number, and we can, call each other and talk about, what happened, and I kept going, and I know it was always hard because I did sports and school and things like that, but remember my grandma would always say, oh, well, I'll pick you up, I'll take you, and other people offered to take me and things, and they kept telling me, keep coming back. So I kept going back, and I still go to this day, and I really love it because I feel like when I go, I could open up and like really talk about my problems, and they would relate to them in a way, and they'd kind of help me, and they would give me really good advice, and they would tell me just talk about it, don't hold it in, and things like that. Anyways, the reason why I go to ALATEEN to talk about things is I wouldn't say I have problems at home, but my family isn't perfect. I mean, I don't think anybody's family is. My father, I grew up with my parents being separated and going to his house on certain days and going with her, and I would always think, oh, well, this is probably what normal people do, and it's nothing different. But then I would find out, or I would hear at school them talking about how at Christmas or Thanksgiving or birthdays and stuff that they would, they would all be together, and my dad would always come late and have an excuse or not show up or not call for a week or not see me. And, sorry. I felt like I didn't have a father there for me, and I still feel like that. He sees me once a week, which to me it's like when I see him, we don't communicate. I go to his house, do homework by myself. He goes outside and washes the car, and I'll be in his house and I'll watch TV, and we'll go and eat lunch and come back and he'll take me home. That's basically what we would do. And when he would always tell me, well, he's moving across the street from where I'm living, and he was telling me, we get to see each other more, you get to come over, we could do all kinds of things together, and I was so excited. And he's been saying he's moving in, and it's been like 4 months, and he doesn't have anything packed or whatever. He's too busy with work or what he needs to do besides me, and I feel like he's just not there. I would stop crying. Anyways, so I remember I told him, he picked me up, we went to go get gas. This happened maybe a couple weeks ago, and I blocked the doors before he got out, and I said, Dad, I want to talk to you. I want to have a conversation with you. I know this is probably not the best place, but I feel like I've held it in and not said anything for so long that I don't care where we are, what time it is, who we're with, I need to tell you how I feel. So I finally told him, I was like, Dad, you know where I live, I know where you live, you know what my phone number is, you pay for my cell phone, and you don't call me, you don't text me, you don't say good morning. At least, I don't even care if you text me and say hi with a smiley face. I just want to know that you're thinking about me like I'm thinking about you. He immediately started crying. So did I. He was crying and telling me how, telling me, oh, well, when I'm at work, I can't use my phone, or when you call, I don't feel it because I'm working, or I was taking a shower. How long? And I remember one time I called him, I remember one time I called him for like 10 minutes straight, and then he called me back an hour later and said, sorry, I was in the shower. I remember I yelled at him, how long does it take you to take a shower? I mean, you're a man. You have nothing. And I remember I told him, I take half an hour showers, yeah, because I'm a girl. It's what we do. You should take 10-minute showers. I mean, the most. And he brought that up and kept telling me how much that I should stop calling him after the first time, and maybe he would call me back, and things like that. And he would get into arguments with my mom, talking about how they would get into arguments about child support, or him not taking me to practice on time, or him not spending time with me, or things like that. But I would always feel like I'm in the middle, and that I'm the person that they always seem to fight over. So I would always kind of blame myself for them not getting along. And it hurts. It's really sad that I think the reason why I grew up with my dad not spending time with me is because he didn't like my mom, or he didn't want me to go to ALATEEN meetings, and I felt like everything he said was basically because of me. And he would tell me, oh yeah, I was going to be a police officer, but you were born. How does that make me feel? That you wanted to be a police officer and you did all that work, and him saying, oh yeah, you were born, so I didn't go to the force. Like, you shouldn't have had me then. If you really wanted to be a police officer that bad, you shouldn't have had me at that time, or you should have went to the force. Sorry. Wish he was here so he could hear all this. Yeah, thank God for ALATEEN. I feel like, I know it's kind of weird to say this, but ALATEEN was like my dad. Like, I would talk to them and they would respond and agree or help me what I needed to be told, or they would just always know what to tell me to make me feel better. And the one thing that they tell me that I always go by to this day is, oh, I forgot it. I'm sorry, I'm just really nervous. Anyways, they would always tell me to stay strong. And that's my slogan for this whole convention is stay strong. And for everybody, stay strong. Like, no matter what you're going through, I'm 104% sure that everybody will understand what you're going through, and we will try to help you as best as we can. I'm not trying to speak for people or others, but I'll speak for myself, and I'll say if you're going through anything, it doesn't have to relate to what I'm going through, or you could be in AA and you can still talk to me, and I would try to help you as best as I can, even though I'm like 13, you're probably older. But yeah, you could come and talk to me, and I would help you, and I'm pretty sure you would help me, and that's just how I thought ALATEEN was, that I help you and you help me, and everybody's happy. What? Yes, you do. Okay. I want to thank my ALATEEN sponsors and people who do ALATEEN, and all the ALATEEN people that thank you for being there and going to be there when I need you guys the most. And I feel like when I go there that one Thursday night from 7:30 to 9, that's the time and that's the place that I could tell you guys what happened during the week, and you guys would understand and you guys would help me. And I really want to thank you guys, and I love you guys, and you guys are amazing.
Now we have Jamie. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm an alcoholic. Hello. Oh, tough act to follow. I want to thank Judy. I don't know where she is. I want to thank Judy and Norma for asking me to speak, and encourage you all to keep coming back for all the newcomers that are here. I grew up in an alcoholic home. I feel like you already know my story. Actually, I think probably half of you already know my story from my mom. I grew up in an alcoholic home, and I think I've seen my dad sober maybe a handful of times. It's usually when he has a cold and he switches from beer to Hawaiian punch because he thinks Hawaiian punch helps his cold. He puts He puts lemon juice in it. Fun fact. I've seen my dad sober a handful of times, and personally, I think my dad's the best person in the world. Like my mom said, he was not a abusive alcoholic, is not an abusive alcoholic. I have a lot of compassion for my father, mainly because I'm just like him. Whenever my mom and dad would get in fights, I would side with my dad. I'm a total daddy's girl, and I will fight till I die that I'm his favorite. I tell my sister that all the time. I always get what I want from him, and you know, I feel for him. I'm exactly like him, and it took me a long time to realize that. I started drinking and experimenting with drugs when I was 13. My first drunk was off of some kind of red wine cooler. I blacked out, and I couldn't wait to do it again. For me, there was no such thing as drinking socially. If you weren't drinking to get drunk, there was no point in drinking. I still don't understand how people do that, to be honest with you. I think people who can have a beer are really strange. Still, I don't understand it, and I don't have to understand it, which, you know, it's fine. I snuck out. There's a lot of things my mom doesn't know still. I snuck things in, anything that I could do to escape. And I am a strong believer that I was an alcoholic from the start. I have every characteristic, every character defect that you could think of an alcoholic. I used to think that my mother made me this way because she gave me everything I wanted, that I was a brat because of her. Since then, I realized that's not true at all. I am an alcoholic. I am selfish, I am self-seeking, and I will do anything to manipulate you to get what I want. And I did that for years. I'm really nervous. So let's see. I got pregnant at 17, and you know, for some reason, I was not nervous to tell my parents that I was pregnant because my sister who came before me had a baby at a young age, and I knew that it was going to be fine. And it was. I gave birth to my son when I was 18. I was very young. And his father and I stayed together for 4 years. We were only happy for 2. And, you know, I had to raise this baby still being a child. And he's the best thing that ever happened to me. He's going to be 10 next week. And when his father and I split up, he was 2, and I became a single parent, had no idea what to do with myself. And on the weekends when he went to his dad's house, I turned 21 and you know, got joint custody in the same month, so it was on. I didn't start drinking heavily until my son's father and I split up, and that's what I did. I went to the bar and I hung out with my friends. That's what they did. So that's what I did. When I didn't have him, I chose to fill every kind of void with alcohol. When he was 4, I got my first DUI, and I compared myself to everybody. I wasn't as bad as that person. I didn't drink alone because only alcoholics drink alone. I didn't do the things that you did or they did, so there was no way. I'm now realizing that if you are even contemplating that you may have a drinking problem, chances are you probably have a drinking problem. If you go to an AA meeting, it's probably because you think you have a problem. You know, people who don't have problems don't go to AA for fun. It's not very fun when you have to start looking at yourself and your issues and you know, doing 4 steps and 10 steps and all that jazz. So my first DUI, well, my only DUI, thank God, I did the whole deal. I went to jail for 2 days. And you know, my mom didn't tell this part of her story, but the night that I got my DUI, the next day I was supposed to pick up my brother from the airport who was visiting from Seattle. And the cop, I mean, as soon as I got pulled over, I went through a checkpoint on St. Patrick's Day. You know, and people said, why did you go down Harbor on St. Patrick's Day? And I'm like, I just wanted to go home and sleep in my own bed and not sleep on someone's floor, you know? And, you know, I'm grateful that I got caught because I needed to get caught. And I drank a lot that night, and I am really lucky that I did not hurt anybody else or myself. So as soon as I went through that checkpoint, I just immediately broke down, and I knew that I was going to jail. The cop was super nice because I was crying the whole time, and he said, do you have somewhere to be tomorrow? And I said, yeah, actually, I have to be at LAX at 7. And he said, well, why don't you call that person and let him know you're not going to show up? So I did. I called my brother at 3 a.m., and I said, hey, don't tell anyone, but I just got a DUI and I'm in jail and I can't pick you up tomorrow. Sorry. Hung up. I'm, you know, the 5th child out of 6 kids in a Mexican family. As soon as I came out of jail, everyone in my family knew I was in jail. And I was pissed that everybody knew because I told him not to tell anybody. And, you know, I'm a strong believer that my mother's HP was working in her life because she was at an Al-Anon retreat with a bunch of women who loved her because she didn't know what to do. And I did my thing. I went to jail and I paid the fines, and, you know, at 23, my mom gave me a ride to work, and, you know, it still didn't hit me that I had a problem. I just figured, okay, I don't have a license now, so I can't drink and drive. I'm being responsible. That's what I thought I was doing, is being responsible. So I continued to drink for about 7 more months, and I got my license back, and the first weekend I got my license back, I went to visit a boy, this guy I went to high school with, up in the San Bernardino Mountains somewhere. I have no idea where I was. And I let him drive my car, and we were both drinking, and he drove my car into a tree. And we were fine. My car was not. And at that point, I had to call my mom and say, take care of Levi. I'm going to be stuck here for a couple of days. Actually, first I said, come get me. And she said no. And that was the best thing that she could have done for me. And I'm sure you guys all told her not to come get me. So I stayed up in the San Bernardino Mountains somewhere for 4 days because I didn't have a way home. And that was when I realized I had a problem. That's when I realized that my drinking had affected everybody in my life. I'm really emotional today. I called my sister hysterical and said I had a problem. And the first thing she asked was, "What are you wearing?" Before I came up here today, I told her, "You're a part of my story," and she got scared, I think, but she's a part of my story because I remember her asking me, "What are you wearing?" And I said, "What the hell are you talking about? I am, hysterical here, and you want to know what I'm wearing?" And she said, "Well, I watch a lot of Unsolved Mysteries, and, if you're up in the mountains somewhere, I need to know what you're wearing in case we can't find you tomorrow." So after I gave her all the information of the hotel I was staying in, I continued to explain how I thought I had a drinking problem. And my sister, who is not an alcoholic, said, "When you get home, I'll take you to a meeting." And I said, "I'm fine, I'll figure it out." So I got home 3 days later, and I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous at Ventura College. It was a speaker meeting on a Friday night, and I sat in the back and I cried the whole time. I don't remember anything that was said that night. I don't remember anyone I met that night. But I realized that I had a problem because normal people don't sit in an AA meeting crying. I went to AA for about 2 months. I didn't share, I didn't identify, I didn't get a sponsor, I didn't do any of the work. I stayed sober for 16 months. I stayed dry for 16 months. Let me correct myself. I did not drink for 16 months, and I did not change a damn thing about myself. I was still as self-seeking and self-centered as I ever was. I just didn't have alcohol in me anymore. I continued to smoke pot because pot wasn't my problem. That was my disease. So I got into a really, really bad relationship with another alcoholic. And in that relationship, I started drinking again. And, you know, misery loves company, and that person made it perfectly acceptable for me to do what I was doing. And what they say is true. I picked up exactly where I left off. It wasn't immediate. It was about 2 weeks into it that I stopped, you know, going to work on time and calling in sick. And that was the first time that I drove drunk with my son in my car. And at this time, he could read, and he said, "What's beer?" And I was like, "Shh, don't tell Grandma." And and that's when I realized, again, you know, my realization that I had a problem. I needed to go back to meetings. It's exactly what I did. I have a home group in Ventura, Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, noon, safety valve topic discussion meeting. And that's where I met my sponsor. And the first meeting I went to at that time, the first time I got sober, she was the first person to give me her phone number. And I remember where I put it. So I had called her after that first meeting and asked her if she'd go to coffee with me. And I remember telling my mom, or asking my mom, "Can I interview my sponsor?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course. You should interview your sponsor." And I was like, "Okay, awesome." So I went in with a big list of things and, you know, wanted to know how she did things. And she's been my sponsor ever since, and she has saved my ass so many times. What I love about Amy is that she doesn't tell me what to do. She gives me suggestions. And I do everything she suggests, because when I got here, I was that desperate. And to this day, I will do anything that anyone in program suggests, because I know that that's what worked for them. And I don't ever want to feel like I felt when I first got here. I have my AA dads in this program who remind me how angry I was. I had no idea how angry I was when I got here. And I have my AA dads who hug me and tell me they're proud of me. And I can hear her crying, and it's making me... And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for those men in those meetings who tell me how proud they are of me, and who give me cakes on my birthday. And, you know, I'm not angry at my dad for who he is. I have a lot of compassion for him because I know what it's like. And I'm the only one in my family who has a drinking problem. And I'm a strong believer that, like I said, I was born this way. I still have character defects, even more so, I think, now that I'm aware of them. And but I do things completely different now. I have 3.5 years sober, and I do things so much differently now. I'm not perfect in any way. I don't do them perfectly every day, but I'm aware of it. And, you know, really working on not reacting to things, letting go of control, accepting things, people, places, and things for what they are. And, you know, I'm at this point now where I don't want control of things. I wasn't very good at it when I thought I had it, and I don't want to do it anymore. When I first got here, all of the stupid sayings and slogans that you guys were throwing at me, I hated them all. And I was going to tell you where to stick them, and I did. In every single meeting, I cussed in every single meeting and told you how much I hated everything about this program. And, you know, the word God made me cringe, because to me, God was a punishing God. And now I have my own understanding of a higher power. It's not God, and that's okay. And I know that in this program, you guys are okay with that. And, you know, we don't have to discuss our higher powers. We go to meetings, we talk about the tools that we have today that we did not have when we were drinking and using. Alcohol and drugs were my solution for a long time. They weren't my problem. They're still not my problem. I'm my problem. Ta-da, that's crazy. I had no idea. You know, and it's just amazing what this program has done for me and for my family. I'm so grateful to be here with my mom, who I have an amazing relationship with, and, you know, still trying to get used to only asking for things when I absolutely need them, and getting used to her not offering things. And I think that took her a while too. But, you know, being okay, being in the gray area has been very, my partner's looking at me because she doesn't think I'm very good at that. Being able to live in the gray area, because I'm a all or nothing kind of girl. It's either extreme, depression or extreme highs. I don't have an in-between. And learning how to do that, and I do that by going to meetings and talking to my sponsor and talking to other people in program, getting out of self, being of service, working with other alcoholics. I have one sponsee, I have 2 commitments, and I finally have gotten to the point in the last 2 years where I revolve my life around my meetings and not my meetings around my life. That's what keeps me sober. That's what keeps me centered. That's what keeps me sane. Not all the time, but I try to stay as centered as I possibly can, because I know that if I don't, I will start drinking again. And I will pick up exactly where I left off, and I don't ever want to be there again. How much time do I have? I don't know, what else did I talk about? I think that's all I have. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.